Now that we know a little bit of HTML, let's go back and fix our Word lookup program to make this a little bit prettier. If you remember, we had in our program the mechanism for writing our output by calling self.response.write, which would just basically add to our HTML output. And we just wrote the definitions, and now that we know a little bit of HTML, we know that clearly wasn't enough. So let's see. Since everything up to here is sort of processing the JSON, we'll leave that, and now it's a little comment here, we'll say generate HTML. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to have a bunch of these write statements. Let's start by making our HTML and body tags, which are the ones we really need. Okay, actually maybe we'll make a title too. Sorry, a head, title, and we'll say word lookup, end title, and head, and then, sorry, end head, and then our body. Alright, that's good. And then at the very end, when this is all done, I'm going to copy this because I think we're going to need this a lot. Let's have a tag. We'll do end our body and end our head. And you'll see later there are cleaner ways of generating HTML, sort of separating the HTML out from your program. But for now, we'll just integrate this. And let's see. Let's go and say what word we're looking up. Definition of, and now we'll say the word, which is in that variable word. All right, we're just building up a string just like we have all semester long. The definition of word space is colon. Now we'll need to have a line break, right? BR, which is going to be our HTML line break. Close parentheses. And now we can make a list, and we'll have a list for each definition, a list entry for each definition, right? So add an unordered list, and now instead of simply writing the definition, we'll have the tag a list element, right, and then the definition with the closed list element. And I think that should be the bulk of it. Let's try this again. Refresh the page. And look at this. Beautiful. Definition of lugubrious is gloomy, or gloomy, mournful, or dismal, especially to an exaggerated degree. Let's just make this a little bit prettier. Let's put some bold around. Let's make the word bold. We can do that just by adding a bold tag and an end bold tag. Just in and before and after the word. There we go. You'll notice the first couple times I refreshed it, it actually ran the old program. Google App Engine Testing Harness actually needs a second or two to compile and get it running, so notice you may have to refresh a few times. Alright, let's try looking up some other words. Let's look up, I don't know, computer. Alright, programmable device, a person employed to perform computations. This is really working. How about a university? What is a university? An institution of higher education. I think we've got this program pretty much set. Let's go ahead and publish this, deploy this to the public server, and test it out in the open web, and I think we'll be done for now. While this is deploying, I will say one thing, which is that while we are I'm very happy to have this freely available dictionary API from Glossby, they have to protect themselves, right? What's going to stop them from someone building a company using their service? They probably want to sell you their service. And the answer is, if you go read down to the bottom of that API documentation page, you'll see that they limit how much you can use it. If you were to try and run this tons and tons of times, they would stop you. They can do that because every time you make a request, you're actually passing in your IP address with your request, right? That's sort of the way HTTP works. And they can keep count of how many requests each IP address requester has made, and if they see too many, they'll block you. So, and they'll limit you. In fact, just about most APIs will either block you if you do too much, or they are more likely require some authentication to limit what you can do. And this is very important not only for selling services, but because the reality is the web is kind of a rough and tumble place, and people will abuse you. And people can actually, if they want to cause Glossary some trouble, they could bring down their service by having a whole bunch of computers just give thousands and thousands or even millions of requests a second, and essentially bring that server to its knees by making too many requests. This is actually a fairly common practice for people that want to cause trouble. It has a name. It's called a denial of service attack, or DOS. Denial of service attack is something that any website developer will protect themselves by doing basic things. For example, limiting the number of requests from an individual requester. All right, so let's see if we can, if this is running now instead of on localhost 8080 on bettersentest.appspot.com. Cross your fingers, it's loading, and sure enough, it is working. Let's look up intelligent. Well thought out, well considered, and characterized by thoughtful interaction. What I think all of you students are if you've gotten to this point.